animatronics depicted French fairy tales also contained 2 dark rides, the first of which was located in this massive structure that depicted Gargantua, a mischievous giant that was popular in French folktales. From French, was known as the City of Dis, Journey Under the Sea. This ride is absolutely bizarre, and the more I dug, the more I realized that this is pure Lovecraftian horror, making for one of the most unique attractions I've ever seen, but I'm going to do my best with the little information that is out there. What exactly is the City of Dis? From folktales in Brittany, a region of France settled by Bretons, who are considered a Celtic nation. There is a small clip from a promotional video that seems to show what looks like artificial jellyfish in there as well, but I'm not entirely sure if that's what they're intended to be. Behind the Hydra is a wooden structure, which might be a ship, but I think is instead the gates to the levee, which I initially thought implied that the king's daughter is the monster who intends to sink the city. It could also not be related to the king's daughter at all, as the dialogue for the attraction describes how the city summoned monsters with a mysterious technology, and refers to witches and sirens who lure ships into the city to be robbed. Also, while the movement was limited, the Hydra did have a small degree of motion, which is pretty cool. Riders moved through a glass tunnel looking out into a pond, and could view the broken head of a statue, with the dialogue describing it as being from another dimension. Near the first encounter with the crab-like animals, there is a staircase in the rock that is difficult to see, but from a photo, it reveals that it's an infinite staircase effect that reaches up into what I think is supposed to be another dimension. The dialogue for the ride refers to how the city discovered what it calls infinity, which I think is this mysterious dimension that the monsters came from. Moving on though, riders enter what I think is a volcanic cave, filled with ugly creatures that emerge from clamshells. The attraction dialogue refers to a fiery energy that powers the technology in the city, which could be thermal from this red-lit cave, but the translation is also vague enough that I think it could also refer to nuclear fusion. This cave scene also features a terrifying creature that opens and closes its mouth, which I believe could either be another variation of the clam species, or otherwise might be inspired by a gulper eel. There's also what looks to be a person with flashing blue eyes ensnared in some web of tendrils, and from another photo with what appears to be a medieval knight, or possibly even the king, I believe that this section depicts the remains of the city inhabitants. From here, the ride gets stranger, as you see a person ensnared in some sort of technological bubble, as they are surrounded by the crab-like creatures holding glowing stones in their claws. This scene also depicts what I think is the merging of the tangible world with the infinite, making for an abstract and definitely Lovecraftian kind of theme of cosmic horror. Achieved through mirrors and lights, riders now move through a nebulous realm that I think either implies that they're traveling into the infinite, or are otherwise experiencing the dimensions merging together. This continues as the vehicles move through a mirrored tunnel with flashing lights, and emerging, riders now find themselves in an abstract dimension of lights, shapes, and a jellyfish-like creature. It appears to have its tentacles placed on a submerged sphere, which I think may indicate that it's pulling the Earth into the infinite. Because there was no dialogue for the second half of the ride, I think that it may have intentionally just been vague for the sake of being mysterious. While there's no footage of the ride past this point, from here I believe it just ends, with you trapped in the infinite with all the horrors that it contains. With the lack of adequate camera technology for low-light environments, it's often very difficult to tell what was occurring throughout the ride, and even then, what little footage has been made available is full of cuts between the scenes, making it impossible to see the entire ride. Granted, I think that cut scenes were just too dark for the camera, so you couldn't see what was going on in these transitions anyways, but it would be really cool if a full video of this ride surfaced.